Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the Product in LA podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Cole, and this is an opportunity to shine the spotlight on some of the exceptional technology leaders we have as part of the LA community. With us today is Maulik Parikh. Really excited to have you on the show today, Maulik.
Hey, great to be here, Ethan.
I'm excited. I'm really excited to talk with you, man. But first, a word from our sponsors. Product in LA is brought to you by Uruit, available at uruit.com. Do you need help completing your roadmap items? Uruit is a digital product development agency with over 15 years of experience helping companies build web and mobile apps by embedding directly into their Scrum teams. Uruit's expert full stack software developers provide quality code to help you get the job done. If you need React or Angular front-end devs, or perhaps help with Node.js, .NET, or Python development, DevOps, or even product or design to help solidify requirements, they're ready to help you close out roadmap items and actually release to customers. Learn more at uruit.com. That's uruit.com. We're also brought to you by the Product Managers Association Los Angeles, available at pma.la. They are the largest professional organization for product and designers in LA with more than 3,000 members from over 500 companies. They host monthly meetups, organize the Product Leader Council, where CPOs and heads of product connect in small 6 to 8 member pods, and a mentorship program where they connect working product managers with students from underrepresented groups to help build a better, more diverse next gen. To learn more about PMA, go to pma.la. To learn more about the mentorship program, go to pma.la/mentorship. Our guest today is Maulik Parikh. He is the head of digital product and platforms at Dish Networks. That is awesome. And his past roles include senior director of product management at Internet Brands, the director of product at Freedom Pop, and he was a manager for tech consulting at Accenture before that. And one interesting fact you might find by looking at his LinkedIn profile is he's volunteered for PMA for 4 years, and he was actually a critical member of the conference team that put together a diversity inclusion conference at AT&T in 2019, as well as a member of the team that worked on the 2020 product conference that ended up having to go virtual due to COVID. But thank you for your contributions to the community, Maulik.
Welcome, man. No, it's always great, right? It's kind of I transition into product management, learn from some mentors, right, and sort of kind of then it's giving back a little bit, and then anybody who needs help kind of coming into product management, right? At PMLA, sort of a great organization to kind of foster that community in LA, right, and sort of learn and sort of spread the knowledge. So always that was pretty exciting time at PMLA, right?
Yeah, and product and especially in the last few years was a field that you needed someone to give you a shot to get into, and so
That's right.
It's an amazing community, and I love that people pay it forward and pay it back. So yeah, thank you for that, Maulik. And guys, curious because product and technology, as we know it, didn't exist as we were growing up. So I'd love to learn about your journey into this. Did you think that you may end up in this type of world that you're in now, or were you headed down a different path?
No, actually, I didn't, right? It's interesting, right? I was growing up in India, like at that point, right? Technology was not that easily accessible. Like I grew in late, like early 90s, right? And sort of
Right.
technology was not that accessible. Then I moved to US in 99, just kind of looking at digitalization at kind of happening in US, right? And I came here in 99, had a compact computers. Like that was like,
Yes.
pretty exciting to have my own computer, because in India we had some computers in library, right? We will go, our public places will go and sort of use it for an hour and be back at home, right? But
Yeah.
when I had my first compact computer, man, it was like, wow, I have my own computer, right? So the path was interesting, right? Then I got pretty excited, and then I ended up doing computer science, right?
Mm.
Kind of undergrad in computer science, and that started my sort of technology career, right?
So it was a little bit of it was a little bit of, not having access to it as you were growing up, and then kind of this shiny new toy that you got to start playing with, and it sounds like you
Yes,
got fascinated by that and
correct.
dove entirely in by getting a computer science degree.
Yes, yes. And then in my degree, it's interesting. And then I realized rather than programming, like I did computer science, but I realized my strength is not programming per se, right?
Okay.
Right. It's more of the using technology in general, more of business analysis, using technology to kind of, solve business problems and some of those sort of. So that's where I found my little sweet spot, right? Even within technology after getting degree from in computer science, right?
Oh, that is interesting. So it's the journey sounds like it was like touch points here and there as you're growing up, and maybe that kind of fostered the the interest in it. And then moving into computer science, jumping directly into it, and then realizing as you're in it that yes, it's the technology that was the thread all along. It wasn't exactly the creating of the program by getting into the code itself, but maybe the the things that the technology was able to do
Yeah,
once it was made.
correct. It's more of the application, right? In its raw form.
Did that carry on in you kind of your first gigs when you left college?
Yeah, so interesting story. When I left college,
Yeah.
it was 2002, right? Not a great time to be in Detroit, Michigan in 2002. All the auto companies were
Oh,
going through tough time. So I couldn't find a job in technology sector which I was expecting, right? But then I got at least a job as a Comp USA in their business sales unit, right, where we were selling technology and computers and printers and all at that point, right?
like
Comp USA
Comp
is
USA, the and
correct.
for folks who don't
Don't know it.
remember, yeah, it's kind of like it was
Yeah.
a Best Buy, but dedicated only to computer parts. And sadly, I think in a few years we'll have to explain what a Best Buy is, but hopefully there's still
Yes,
enough of
that's
them
right.
out there right now. But
That's right.
CompUSA,
Yeah.
yeah.
CompUSA has been out of business for 15, like probably 10, 15 years at this point. But yeah, so they had a business sales division. So I ended up joining that because after graduation, I looked for a job for 3, 4 months. But in Detroit at that point, it was hard. And it was a hard market throughout the US, right? 2002 was a recession.
Yeah.
So CompUSA kind of allowed me to kind of learn some sales things, right, and sort of just selling technology. So sort of some still associated with technology, right? We were selling to SMBs, computer system platforms, right, to SMBs, right,
Right.
and so did that for about a year and a half, and then I got a good break, right? So the economy started getting better, companies started hiring, so I joined Accenture in their tech consulting
Nice.
practice, right? So that's how I kind of got started in my professional journey, with Accenture. Yeah.
And was that still gravitating towards the strategy in how to use the technology? Did that thread continue to carry?
Yes, yes. So then that thread now naturally was like sort of after college, you realize like rather than sort of doing computer science programming, I want to more on the application side. That's perfect match for me, right? Because it turned out you help all this Fortune 500 companies and the other clients how to kind of help with their technology, big, large scale technology transformation programs, right? Like it's I don't know whether a lot of the audience might know, but ERP systems, SAP and Oracle, right? So I did consulting for companies like at clients like Dow Chemicals and AT&T, right? And kind of we did large scale system transformation projects for them, right? So it was pretty exciting, right? The initial years, I I was traveling. I mean, it was kind of consulting. So, living out of suitcases Monday to Thursday, you're at client side,
Right.
and then Friday you are in home office, right? So it was a great kind of start in technology. I really enjoyed, helping clients navigate how to do large scale, uh, sort of platform transitions, right?
Yeah, and what was, and I guess for some of the audience members, can you explain just very quickly an ERP and
Yeah,
how?
ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning System. So basically, it's a one system, all your back-end functions kind of handled by one system. Like SAP is an example of ERP, Oracle is an example of ERP. So right, all, if you think about a Fortune 500 companies like AT&T, they have sales functions, supply inventory management functions, right? Supply chain function, finance functions, right? So all this is an integrated sort of data backing passing from sales order, right? When a customer orders something,
Right.
to kind of shipping them, and then kind of finance and billing them, and sort of financial reporting, right? Accounting and financial reporting. So it's one system which handles like thousands of employees of that company, right? And sort of it takes like a long time to implement this program. It's not like it can get done in 6 months or something like that. These are like multi-year projects, right?
Yeah.
AT&T, we were there for like 5-6 years, and I was there 2 years, and then the program started before me. I was there 2 years, and then I moved on to a different project, but to different client. But the program was 5 years to kind of get AT&T's the whole back office in SAP, right?
What were
Yeah,
some of the key learnings that, a young Maulik who's going to these, sizable companies, very flagship company, especially, think
yeah,
about AT&T at that time, it's still very big, but at that
yeah,
time before there was FANG companies, that was one of the still is, it's a Fortune 5 company. So
correct.
what was it like? What'd you learn from that? Is anything that you learned
Yeah,
there as
there
a
were
young Maulik
great
carry
learnings.
on?
So there was great learnings, right? First of all, Accenture is a great company for someone in their young career to get started in consulting. The mentorship is awesome, right? There are like great, the people take pride in helping the junior kind of get to the senior ranks and seniors into partnerships, right? So people take pride in that. Personally, look, change, of course you want to meet the objectives and help the clients kind of, help your clients to kind of get leverage the best out of technology, right? Because before this kind of system, they would have like 50 different systems doing each functions. There would be a system for inventory management, and then there would be a system for financial reporting, right? And there will be a system for order management, right? So now you have one system doing everything, right? Like the data is easily flowing between systems. So I think a couple of great learning is how technology, again, it just reinforces what we see, how technology makes life easier for in that case, employees, and sort of, you have a lot more finance controls, right? So people can not unintentionally not make mistakes, right? So just seeing the power of this kind of platform was amazing, and you can see like how the life of a employee becomes a little bit easier with this kind of access, to giving them the access to this kind of system where they can do their day-to-day job very much more efficiently, right? Like if I'm an inventory planning guy, I have one dashboard now rather than worrying about 3 different systems and, this thing is here, this thing is here, this thing is here, right? So that was kind of just reinforcing how technology can be powerful, right? And kind of in efficiency, right? Just not in your personal use, but even in corporate world, efficiency and sort of controls, right? There was another learning is when change management, you can have like the change management, how to, it's technology is one thing, but how can you train employees on the new platform, right? How can you get ready? Because then people are thinking, this new technology is going to take my job away or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So the change management is a very, very important sort of, you can have best technology, but people don't know how to use it efficiently or something like that. Then you're only solving half of the problem, right? You're not solving the whole problem, right? So that was the interesting thing, which again, the learning is like it's not just big and the best technology, but how do we effectively think from the human perspective, right? How can you make people understand, and sort of planning the change management component, how it's very important. So those were the learning. And then the last learning is if you're in a client-facing role, you gotta, right? Sometimes, you gotta, even if you don't know the answers, they are thinking, you are the expert, so you have to use the words and give them a comfort, right? If you're in that kind of role, that, and then internally you guys can brainstorm all night if needed. But that's another learning in some of these client-facing roles, right? Like, you might not have the answers right now, but you have to kind of use your body language should be very confident still, right? You'd be like, no, no worry, we will figure it out, right? Yeah, even if you don't have answers at that moment, right? Sort of from and then there's always an internal team, right? It's not a one-man show, right? There's always internal teams, right? You can leverage the whole team. It's Accenture. We have a global expert, not only in US. I could reach out to anyone in, like, for example, in Brazil who has done this, right? Or anybody in Australia who might have done this for a different client, right? So we can always do that. But that was another interesting learning.
I'd love to double click into change management and what are the key highlights that you learned from the change management? And I love this thread of people who are threatened by the change and how to console them or how to convince them to keep moving forward through
Yeah. So
initial
what we
fears.
did, no, great. So what we did as Accenture as an organization, and again, this is not just Accenture, but any consulting companies, right? Like,
Right.
we name it IBM or, you know, any other consulting and Deloitte of the world or whatnot, right? What we did is we partnered with executive clients, and we kind of just sort of like, hey, what is our plan on the change management, right? Because started thinking from day one. It's not like, oh, you're gonna get this new platform and blah blah blah, right? It's like, you have a parallel team which would start working with clients, because that way we need a lot, because we can bring up some of the technology expertise and all that, but the whole how the organization DNA is, and like what message resonates and what not, right? There, of course, a lot of this sort of brings changes in a job sometimes too. That there is a decent amount of right, because you need different kind of skills, so there's a retraining needed.
Yeah.
Right, like some people needs to be retrained, and whatnot, and then sometimes there are redundancies in roles, so then organizations figure out, like, where would they place this other person now, right? Because now if you have more efficient systems, so what like what, like 10 people can do now, like probably 5-7 people can do the same functions, right?
Right.
So there is the whole change management aspect of this, and yeah, there was a lot of planning going on, and sort of using HR and sort of what is employees gonna feel, how do you want to message them, how do you want to prepare ahead of time, right? And sometimes deliver tough messages too, right? It's if needed to be delivered, because at the end of the day, sometimes, at least, and then my personal philosophy as well, like, it's good to be straight shooter sometime if needed, right? So that's kind of a little bit sometimes a difficult aspect of it, right? Probably I would say one of the most challenging aspects, right, of this large scale systems implementations and technology sort of transitions, right?
So in this kind of era where the zeitgeist is very clear, it's generative AI, it's ChatGPT, it's Bard, it's all of them, and there's fear, some warranted, that
Correct.
AI is going to not just going to take my job, but it'll change the way that things are done, and that jobs will all change. And there's a question of if all the jobs that are available today will be necessary tomorrow. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions or advice for, I guess we'll start with the folks who are on the management end on how they can approach, that subject. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on maybe on their other end, the folks who are out there wondering, hey, is my job going to go away? Just from the change management you've seen and worked with, any tips and tricks?
Yeah, well, tips on a personal level is, today we live in a digital world and things change rapidly, right? So you have to
Mm-hmm.
prepare yourself and you have to think about like, okay, as on a personal level, okay, what am I doing right now? How is technology going to impact 10 years from now? And sort of start thinking about plan B. It could be right, like what if this is gonna get replaced, like what could be thing. And I think as I think we evolved from farming into industrial age, right, in industrial age into like computer age. So there's
Right.
always been shifts in the how what nature of what we were doing. It's just that before it took 100 years, 150 years, you know and now the things is condensing in like 15 years, 20 years kind of timeline, right? So
Yeah.
we have seen this kind of major shift in past, right? It just that it gave much society much bigger time to think about this. Now it's just happening at
Mm.
much rapid pace from what I can see, right? Like what we can see, right? So going back to your original question, tips, yeah. So I think it's important for everybody to think like kind of what your role, what you're doing right now. Automation is continue to go. What could plan B looks like, and rescale it,
Mm.
right? Like sometimes, like start. And the good thing nowadays, if you want to learn something new, access to great information and sort of you know coaching is right. There are a lot of organizations and great courses on YouTube and Coursera's and whatnot, right? So learning new things has become much a little bit easier as compared to before, right?
Yeah.
Right,
And
new skills, right? So retraining yourself has a little bit become a little bit easier, I feel like, right?
I mean, and to go full circle, it's not like those times where you only have access to something for 1 hour.
Correct.
We all have, I would say everyone who's listening to this probably has access to, computers readily, the phone, the internet, and I'd love to plug our friends at AILA. They like to help train folks. So if anyone's listening and wants to be upskilled in
Yeah.
AI and learn more about it, AILA, I believe they're join.aila online. Todd Terrazas is the director. Look them up because they do a lot of good education around AI and they're dedicated to upskilling folks. So please look at those, check them out. And keeping
Yeah.
this, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I think and this is at a personal level, right? Also, the one of the last thing is like it's sort of good to start building some of those network, where people can help you, right? So some of this what PMLA did, there are a bunch of other professional organization, right? So it's gonna start like if you think is you're in an area of one of this job which you can be replaced like in next 10 years or 5 years or whatever, right? Just think a little bit ahead, right? And sort of some of the networking components can play in the pictures. And I maybe you don't want to touch in this topic, but it's interesting. I'm going to say it anyways, right? I
Yeah.
feel like also there's a personal level, but I think our government needs to start at the societal level, right? What we should be doing because this trend is getting so fast, right? So I was just had a discussion last month with a friend, and I personally think we even might need some universal basic income or something like that concept for you know uh, to get us that provide that short-term cushion until society fully transition into this AI and automation age, right? But anyways, that's I feel like that's one of the things we should start thinking at the government and more of a macro level, right?
Yeah. And I think they probably need to start thinking a lot quicker. And I guess going back to another point you made previously, the government had more time to react to things. These things took
Correct.
longer. So there
Correct.
was more time to have debate on the floor of the Congress of whether or not we could or should not be doing something. These days, I mean, things are happening so fast. They're just, the cell phones are still under 15 years old. So
Yeah.
that's just incredible, right? So that the changes in our world, I guess not smartphones, not cell phones, but smartphones are under 15 years old. And that's it's probably a run of the mill, average lifespan of a congressperson, right? So
Correct.
it's moved so fast. So yeah, well, we'll have to keep an eye on how the government is able to react and how to move quickly. And it feels like in this world that we're entering now, they're going to have to move more quickly than they have in the past, because there could be large societal changes that occur at a hockey stick curve,
Correct. It's yeah, it's
because of
the
the
hockey style. Correct.
technology is moving so fast, especially in that world. Uh, Great points, Maulik. And I would like to ground us back in Los Angeles. One of the things we love to do here is, chat about our relationship to the city. And I'd love to know more about, the most LA thing that's happened to you. And this could be tech related or not.
The most other things interesting. When I was working for Warner Brothers,
Okay. It's a great start.
right? So one day, just coming out of my building, and like Eva Longoria was ahead of me, right? And then
Yes.
she like got out the door, hold the door for me. I'm like, all right, this is cool, right? So I just said hi. She was very nice, right? So yeah, that's probably the most LA thing I can think about right now. Yeah.
That's amazing. Was that like Desperate Housewives era too? Is it
That's
like
right. Yeah.
Eva
Like this is like
Longoria?
about 10 years ago, right? Something like that,
Yeah, at her inner prime, holding door open for Maulik.
right?
That's amazing. Well, that's a great note to end on. Just really thank you again, Maulik, for joining us.
No, yeah,
Great to
it is
have you
great.
here.
My pleasure. It is exciting, right? What you're doing with PMA LA and some of these podcasts, like definitely. And we're looking forward to connecting you with sometime soon.
Excellent. And if you do like the podcast, hit the subscribe button. That does help, or leave a review if you're on Apple. Those do help with reach. Our guest today is Maulik Parikh. Thank you so much again, Maulik. And our
Cool.
sponsors. Oh, yeah. And thank you again to our sponsors, PMALA, available at pma.la. They do great work. Maulik knows this, as well as Yeruit, who also does great work, available at uruit.com. I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on Product in LA.